Hi, Next Gen Leaders. My name is Roberta Domingues. I am Brazilian and I just finished my Master in Strategic Leadership towards Sustainability. And today I'm super excited to be here with Vinh Tho, founder of the Eurasia Learning Institute for Happiness and Wellbeing. Thank you for your contribution, Tho. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your work, your role, or any interesting activity that you are involved with?
So hello, Roberta, and hello, friends all over the world, wherever you will be when you listen to this talk. So my name is Vinh Tho. It's a Vietnamese name. Right now, I'm based mainly in Switzerland, in Vietnam. And I work with the Eurasia Learning Institute for Happiness and Wellbeing. Because before coming to Switzerland and Vietnam, I was in Bhutan for 7 years as the program director of the Gross National Happiness Center. And what I do now is to try to implement what I've learned through Gross National Happiness in education, in business, also in cities and provinces. So mainly it's trying to bring about happiness and well-being to all in politics, in civil society, and in economy.
Thank you, Tho. And I know you have a very interesting professional story about systems thinking and ethics and values. And I would love to hear about it. Can you share with us?
Sure. So the story I would like to share is about a project called Happy Schools. And we started implementing it 3 years ago in Vietnam. And I would like to give you a little bit the context. There is an international testing system called PISA that compares educational systems worldwide to try to assess which one are the best educational systems. And many countries in Southeast Asia, like Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and so on, have very high scores in PISA testing. And PISA is mainly testing math and languages. And so if you believe in the PISA system, then you would say, well, you know, worldwide, people should be copying what Southeast Asian countries are doing in education. But then when you look close at the situation of the well-being of the young people in these countries, you see that it's actually not that good. And it was actually the UNESCO Bureau of Education based in Bangkok that studied these systems and realized that although the academic achievements were very high, the well-being of the students was very low, with a lot of bullying, depression, burnout, even suicide. So they tried to understand how come an educational system that was able to produce very high academic outcome was not able to create well-being and happiness for the students. And so they came up with a study that is called Happy Schools. That was 4 or 5 years ago. And we had been working in Vietnam for many years with education, special education, education generally speaking. And when I read this, this report, I thought that would be a great opportunity to try to bring about a systems-wide change in the schools in Vietnam. Because the schools in Vietnam are also very much focused on academic results. They're very competitive. And also there, I observed, and we also did some research, that the well-being of the student was very low. So I designed a program called Happy Schools, which is, first of all, a teacher training program. And this program has 3 components. The first one is connecting to self. Because the fundamental idea was that if you want schools to be happy and students to be happy, you have to have happy teachers. And as we know, many teachers enter the profession with a lot of idealism and engagement, but more often than not, after a couple of years, they are actually very disillusioned about their work. And they realize that they are not really able to do what they thought they would be able to do as teachers, because they have to implement very academic kind of measures that are decided at ministry level, and actually they have little freedom to really be creative and innovative in their classes. And this creates a kind of discrepancy within the teacher. And I think this is true not only for teachers, but it's true for managers, it's true for all professionals. If you are not aligned between your values, your aspirations, your ideals, and what you actually do in daily life, this creates really, on the long term, it can even lead you to burnout and illness and disillusion and loss of engagement. So the first component of the training program is reconnecting with self, and this has to do with training mindfulness competencies, so self-awareness, being able to direct your own mind, your own awareness intentionally through mindfulness practices, mindful sitting, mindful walking, mindful eating, and so on and so forth, really cultivating mindfulness. That's the first part. And then is learning how to deal with one's own emotions. So learning to manage difficult emotions like sadness or anger or depression and so on. And also learning how to cultivate intentionally positive emotions such as gratitude, compassion, generosity, empathy. So that's the first module. It's really to strengthen the teachers themselves so that out of that they can pass it on to their students. And actually, when we do a manager training, we also start there, because in the same way that a teacher has to have these inner qualities if he or she wants to manage their classrooms, likewise, a manager should have these qualities if they want to manage their team properly. The second module is about connecting to others. And that's very much about deep listening, nonviolent communication, empathy, creating a social space where people feel free to express themselves, and creating the classroom as a community and not just individuals in competition with one another. Again, these qualities are absolutely valid in the school, but also absolutely valid in professional settings, because as we know, teamwork is one of the big competency that is needed for successful outcome of a team. But in school, we were trained in competition, not in collaboration and solidarity. So it's really changing the mindset and the paradigm and putting solidarity and cooperation, collaboration at the center of all activities. And I believe that the first very important quality is developing the ability to listen very deeply. Because more often than not, when people speak, others are not really listening. And if we don't know how to listen, there can be no deep understanding between people. So training the teachers in their own deep listening enables them then to train their students in deep listening. And when the students learn deep listening, then you don't have to do discipline anymore. You don't have to shout to get the students to be quiet in the lesson and things like that. But you know, it's really about training a competency rather than making discipline. Mm-hmm. And the third module is about reconnecting with nature, living in harmony with nature. Again, we use the same approach, whether we work with schools or universities or with businesses, because as we all know, we live in a time of disruption in terms of ecological disruption, climate change, and many other problems that actually arise from the fact of a deep disconnection between humans and nature, between humans and other species, between humans and animals, humans and plants, humans and forests and oceans and mountains and so on. So reconnecting with nature and realizing our interconnectedness with all life forms and with the ecosystem is, in my view, a fundamental competency that everybody needs. And it should be trained from kindergarten on, all the way to university, and all the way to businesses, politics, and so on and so forth. So these are the three fundamental units. And the specific way we do it is that we don't come with a ready-made program that the teacher should implement in the classroom. But we try to have them develop these inner qualities and then develop their own creativity to find the ways to implement it in the classroom so that it's really contextualized. It means the cultural, in this case, for instance, we started in Vietnam, but now we're doing it also in Switzerland, very different country, very different context. But it's because it's the teachers who know the class, who know the context, who know the school, who know the system, that are really finding their own creative way to implementing it, then it's always, it really fits to the situation. So the idea is that the teachers develop their own competencies, which is really connecting with self, being aligned with oneself, with one's values, with one's deepest or highest ideals, aligning one's behavior with these values, then connecting with others through empathy, compassion, deep listening, collaboration, and so that the human relationship stands at the middle of the classroom, not just the academic achievement, but the quality of human relationship, the warmth, the friendship, the love, the trust. That really creates a kind of a social field where everybody can give their best, both teachers and students. And then being deeply connected with nature, so that whatever we do, we always think, what is the impact of our behavior on nature and therefore also on future generations? So now it's been the third year of implementation. We started in one province in Vietnam. The results have been really excellent. We have now a little film. I can share it with you at another stage, and you can share it with your students if there's time for it. It's like 30-minute film where you see a lot of teachers and students and school directors and parents sharing the stories, how they have changed their behavior, how they have developed specific programs to make the school greener, to have little organic gardens in the school, to have flowers in the classroom, how they create activities like, for instance, when they meet in the morning, the teacher greets personally each student, and the student can choose between getting a hug, getting a handshake, or getting a high five. So depending on the mood and also the age, some students like to get a hug, others would feel uncomfortable, but they don't have to. They can just give a handshake or just a high five. But every student is really perceived by the teacher as a person, as an individual. And then when they come together in the classroom, the first thing they do, they have a moment of mindfulness. And then they have a sharing about how they feel. So they open the classroom with each student has the possibility to share how they feel. So let me give you a little example. There was one young boy, and he never did his homework. So very often he got punished in school, and then it still didn't improve. So the teacher wrote a letter to the parents. So the parents were angry. They punished the boy again. So it was like a vicious circle of failure and punishment and so on. When they started doing this quality time in class, where the students are allowed to share from how they feel, and before they begin, the little boy shared that actually he was very sad because his parents were in a process of divorce, and there was a lot of fighting at home, and therefore when he was at home, he didn't have the calm to do his homeworks. And once the teacher understood that, then the problem was over, because she said, okay, after school you can stay half an hour or 45 minutes in the classroom and you can do your homework here. And suddenly the problem was gone. And it's just because until then he never had a chance to simply express what was happening You know, that it was only, okay, you have not done your homework, so you get punished. Then he gets punished by his parents and he's even more sad. So he sees very little things like having a moment of silence where you look inward, how do you feel, sharing how you feel, and knowing that there's a trust and confidence and warmth and non-judgmental attitude that allows you to share openly. In this case, it was just a few minutes, but it changed his life. And we have so many stories like that, you know, how students and parents shared, or there's a teenage girl shared that until she did the Happy School program, she was fighting at least 2 or 3 times a week with her mom. And then after that, and she learned, she learned to deal with her emotions, develop gratitude and so on. So she started saying thank you to her mom for the nice thing that her mom was doing. And the mom was completely taken aback because she had never heard a single thank you from her daughter. You know, kids take it for granted. Your mom does things for you, so what? Nothing special. But then when the daughter started expressing gratitude, this little word, you know, like, oh, thank you, mom. It's so kind of you to have done this or that for me. It shifted the relationship. And now she reported that actually her mom is like a friend now. They don't argue anymore. Like she can really confide when she has a sorrows or something she can share with her mom. And her mom is, of course, also very happy. So these are just small examples how really very, very small changes bring system-wide transformation because you shift the collective attention from only looking at one thing, which is academic results, grades, to looking at the student as a full person with his story, their emotions, their life, their families, and you are open for that. You listen to that. And then suddenly the whole atmosphere in the school changes. And now the last we heard was that the head of the education department of the province said it has been so successful that they want to implement it as a new paradigm for the whole province. And we'll see, hopefully we can even have it as a national then a program. So Happy School is the future.
Wow, congrats though for this work. Wow, it really inspires us. And if you would want people to remember a key message from your story, what would it be?
I think the key message is, first of all, create a space, and that's true in schools, but also at work. Create a short space of silence where people can look inward and simply acknowledge how they feel right now. And then create a space of confidence, of trust, of non-judgment, where people feel allowed to share how they feel. And this creates a kind of a atmosphere of warmth and mutual understanding, because we're all human. We all have the same aspiration towards happiness. We all go through moments of sadness and so on. But if we carry that together as a class, as a team, it makes a huge difference. So it's really about, allowing for, usually at school or at work, we're not allowed to show emotions, but emotions are part of our life. So if we can create the space where emotions are welcomed, it makes a big difference.
Well, thank you for your story. And for us to close, I would kindly ask you to share with us a practice that you would recommend to people so they can learn these competencies of this type of values that you were talking about: caring, deep listening, compassion.
So I would recommend for everyone to regularly during the day take moments to be still, focus your awareness on your body and observe, how do I feel in my body right now? Focus your attention on your breath and be aware, is my breath short or long, shallow or deep, fast or slow. Don't change it, just observe it. And then observe how you feel right now. Tired or fresh, sad or joyous. And again, don't change it, just observe it. Be with it. So these very simple exercises of self-awareness that can be done, anytime. You can do it while you are slowly walking from one place to the other, while you're waiting for something, or simply you take a moment at your desk once in a while, and just come back to yourself. Be aware of yourself, of your body, of your breathings, of your emotions, of your thoughts, is the foundation, because if you're not aware of yourself, you cannot be aware of others. So self-awareness is the foundation for awareness of others. And I would very much recommend for all of you to do it on a regular basis.
Thank you. That's it, guys. Thank you again, and see you in the next interview. Bye.
Bye-bye.